Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Linemen Safety National Webinar. We're going to have Miss Kat Lee with JELCO giving this presentation today, and real excited about her coming here to our Liveline Training Center in South Carolina. She'll be our first female presenter, and so this is very special. I've known Kat for several years now, running around, going to different expos, rodeos, safety conferences, and she's just a real nice person, family company, and extremely passionate. And that's one reason why I'm excited about her being here and presenting her company and what they do for line crews. And so you guys are welcome to ask questions along the way. But real quick, I just want to introduce, let you all know, you already know that we have Electric Culture of Safety, ECOS, and we are going into 13 months now. We have over 5,100 registered members. Next month, we're going to have Mark Todd with Electric Cities of North Carolina. We're going to have Caleb Thompson coming in, and he's with Timpson's Training Center Systems. And so we'll have another double header like we did this month. And then in May, we're going to have Mr. Lido Wilkins with International Line Builders from California. He's going to be coming, their regional safety director. And then we're also going to have Mr. Jimmy Vaughn with ISPC coming in May. So we'll have another double header. So we've got exciting. We're booked up. I'm actually starting to take some speakers for 2024 now. This whole year we're all booked up. So all these are for you. Everybody is giving back. Everybody's sharing their expertise in their particular segment, their component within the line industry. And so this is a great opportunity for you to share all these recordings. You can just simply sign up and register at safety training at Bierer Meters. I'll register you, send you all the recordings. You get all the information from that point forward. So with that, I'd like to introduce you, Miss Kat Lee.
Hi, Brent. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with y'all today. As Brent said, we've known each other for quite some time, been running around together, all the shows and expos and safety days together. When Brent started talking just over a year ago now, I guess, is when ECOS got launched, right? Started talking about it, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. He has just done a phenomenal job with really trying to pull people together that are passionate about the industry to share and provide free training, guidance, and resources out there so that you as line workers have everything possible available to you at your fingertips. Sorry, it's a little cold here in South Carolina this morning. I've got the sniffles. Anyway, so super happy to be here. As Brent said, my name's Kat. I'm the co-owner and chief customer officer of JELCO. We also have another fall protection company by the name of Elk River that I'm going to talk a little bit about. Today, I'm going to be talking about family, yours, mine, and ours, and it's the story of the evolution of fall protection. And we're a family business. We're the oldest privately held fall protection company in North America. Always been a family business, and we think of all of our customers as part of our extended family. There's people making the products that you're going to wear, that you could have gone to school with, that you go to church with. It's people that could know you, and they truly invest and have a care for what they're making and knowing that somebody that they know could be wearing it. And as my dad's philosophy always was, we make everything as if the person that we love the most is going to put it to the utmost test. There's a few photos of our families, some of y'all's families, and some of us together at various events. Taking it back, so here's a photo of my parents in 1993 in one of the first styles of harnesses that were done. So remember this as we kind of go through a little bit. So a little bit about us. We're two brands, but it's one family. The JELCO brand, as you know, it was founded in Montreal, Canada in 1892 by the Lortie family. The Elk River brand was founded in Cullman, Alabama in 1988 by the Clemmons family, which was by my parents, Philip and Pat, and my uncle Terry. In 1998, JELCO was bought by the Clemmons family, sister companies with Elk River. In 2005, they split. And then in 2020, both brands were brought back together. A little bit of history about how we got into fall protection and the why and what we do. So in the early 80s, my dad was a sales rep for a very large fall protection company that is now owned by Honeywell. At that time, they were called Miller Fall Protection. And my dad saw an opportunity in the market that was an emerging, fall protection was emerging at that time. It was still waist belts, full body harnesses were not required yet. But he saw an opportunity, and I really like to think of it as it was truly the American dream. He approached my Uncle Terry and said, hey, if I can sell it, can you sew it? Because my Uncle Terry had an existing sewing factory. And so Terry said, you know what, sewing, machines just maybe a little bit different. And so in the fall of 1988, Elk River Safety Belt Company was launched with 12 line items. And at that time, we had waist belts, single, like 1D and 2D waist belts. Our lanyards were rope and wire rope, long before shock absorbers entered the picture. And all of our hardware was single locking, and it was before double locking snap hooks came about. So you want to talk about a true evolution of where we are now and what's available versus what we started with 12 line items in 1988. Seen a lot of changes, right, that have come through. And so Elk River's core market was really in the construction and industrial space. They got in the telecom business, oil and gas, rescue, that type of thing. So when we had the opportunity to purchase JELCO, it seemed to be a good fit. And then now that the two brands are back together, that puts us in about 13 different verticals, if you will. We now have manufacturing. We still have manufacturing up in Montreal, Canada. A lot of our leather goods, belts, whatnot come out of there. And then we have 3 factories in Alabama, all in North Alabama. We've got one in Athens, Alabama, Cullman, Alabama, and then in Brilliant as well. And so if y'all ever find yourselves in North Alabama, we would love to have you come by and see us. We have an open door policy. Everything is made domestically, no imports, and absolutely come by and see us if you're ever in the area. So anyway, so going into a little bit about the evolution of fall protection and what things were like when we, how you go from in 88 with having 12 line items and waist belts to kind of what it looks like now with a pretty wide range of products. So the standards started changing in the early 90s as far as put it out there. Full body harnesses were going to be required. Waist belts were going to be outlawed. And so the original harnesses that came out were pretty basic. It was a functional type thing. It was, what you see is the core principles are still the same. They are now. They may just have different aesthetics to them and that type of thing. They were basic. They did the job. Then there was the evolution where things got to be more accessorized, all that kind of stuff. What more can get added? There's been standards changes over the years where there's looking at what do you do from a performance standpoint to make it safer. Because all of this that's been introduced over the years, it's all there so that you can go home at the end of the day. Out of all the incidents that are out there, I would say 99.8% of the incidents out there are totally preventable. And that's the part that for me as a manufacturer and somebody that I feel very, very connected to the utility industry, and that because I feel like everybody is, is part of our family because we make stuff that protects you. It makes me so sick when I hear about something happening that I know that was preventable, right? And so when you look at your deviation of work methods and kind of what becomes acceptable, because there was previously never a consequence. And it was like, oh, well, I can just do this really quick. I've done it 100 times. I'm just gonna unsafety and step up on this on the lip of my bucket, for example, right? And then the one time something's gonna happen. And the reason that you have the safety equipment is because you never know when you're gonna need it, right? And when something can happen. And the biggest thing is using it correctly. And that's really what's so important. So anyway, not to derail, get on my soapbox, but back to the evolution of products, right? So through the course of history, we've gone from waist belts to full body harnesses, single lock and snap hooks, which some people probably still are trying to hide from their safety guy out there and still have them somewhere. Single lock into double lock, and now you've even got triple lock action. All of this evolution has been done to keep you as a worker as safe as possible and mitigate the risk possible with you in the event of an incident. There's a lot that goes into looking at standards and the evolution of products, and then too, when you look at even not only from harnesses and lanyards, let's go into wood pole fall restraint. So taking it back, it'll be 15 years this May when my parents passed, and I quit my job that I had then and decided to get back in the family business. I was on a sabbatical for a few years, so I came back in 15 years ago. Very few companies were in fall restraint. It was emerging. OSHA wasn't gonna rule on it for another 5 years. 6 years after that's when the OSHA ruling came down. So nobody really wanted to see what we had to offer, right? But we had fall restraint. Wood pole fall restraint had been around since the early 90s. So the choker that we have came out in 1992. When there was the ice storm, and I think it was 96 maybe in Quebec, performed very well, and people found that, oh, it's dangerous conditions, it's icy out, but there is a device out there that's going to allow people to be able to still work on the poles, climb them, traverse them, do everything they need, and not slide off, right, and hit the dirt. So anyway, evolution of fall restraint is coming about. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. Didn't want to see me coming into a pole yard. It was quite interesting because it was like, oh, I don't want to see your fall restraint. You're a girl, and why are you coming in here to talk to me, right? I don't want to hear anything about what you say. You don't know how to do my job. I've never claimed to be a line worker. I don't do line work, but I do make stuff to try to keep you safe, right? And so when you think about what it's changed over the last 15 years of fall restraint, not widely accepted, people didn't want to have anything to do with it, and now it's accepted, and people use it, and what I hear more times than not is that people are actually more comfortable climbing with fall restraint now than they were ever before, because the reality with the industry is that so much more stuff is done by a bucket now, and people aren't climbing as much. And so you don't have the practice and you don't have the skill set, right? And so when you're not doing something every day, you're gonna start getting rusty, right? And talking about practice, not to get ahead of myself, but you know, when you look at rescue, for example, and this is another evolution of things that are coming in the industry, right? So rescue is something that is constantly evolving. I feel like rescue is the next thing that's going to come down the pipe, as far as we are getting more and more phone calls and questions about bucket rescue, right? And what to do for bucket rescue, because you can do something as basic as using your hand line and a figure 8 to get somebody down, to a mechanical device, right, to help retrieve the worker. But the thing with rescue is having a plan and practicing it and knowing what to do, but not just being given your equipment, doing it one time and never doing anything with it again, okay? You know, some people do training once a year, a quick refresher, but I kind of wonder, is that really enough, right? Because when you're out there and something happens, are you actually going to have all the tools that have been provided to you, and are you going to have what you need to be able to rescue your friend, right? And make it happen and get them help as quickly as possible. So on the rescue piece, I would encourage everybody to practice as much as possible and know the difference between what your rescue plan is and your emergency response plan, because I do think that some people kind of talk about them as if they're one and don't fine tune both of them, because they are very, very different. And in fact, listening to Lito's broadcast from, was it the third episode, I guess, and I think kind of some of what he said speaks to this, right? He was, after he had gotten hit, moment of shock, adrenaline, they had a helicopter, but they went to the hospital in the foreman's truck, right? Rather than using the helicopter potentially, right? And what's going to get him there the quickest. So anyway, you've really got to hone in on your rescue plan, emergency response plan, all of that. So as I mentioned, in 1988, when we started the business, we had our lanyards were rope and wire rope. Shock absorbers were not out at that point. But so one of the things that we've done is looking at this right here. This lanyard has an internal shock pack. The first ones that came out, first shock absorbers came out, have the external pack on them, okay? And I should have brought one to show you. But the evolution of this, my dad worked with a company in Anniston, Alabama that was at that time called Tapecraft. They're a major webbing manufacturer, and my dad's the one that actually designed and came up with the internal shock pack that would do away with the need for the external shock pack on here, okay? So that's a little bit of cool trivia as far as one of the things that our family has done to help the industry with evolution of products, right? And so we like to be at the forefront and thinking about what's out there, what can we do, because what I'm going to say about safety equipment and any PPE that you have, you as a worker need to choose something that you can use, that you are comfortable using, and that you can use correctly per the manufacturer's instructions. That's the biggest thing about all the safety equipment and PPE out there is, can you use it? Can you use it and using it correctly per the manufacturer's instructions? There's nothing worse for me than seeing somebody that's taken a shortcut somewhere, and I can't tell you how many times I'll be doing a harness fitting and start talking about leg strap adjustments, and the guy's like, oh no, I don't do my leg straps. And I'm like, excuse me? No, not okay. It's not gonna do you any good. Like, why wear a seatbelt in the car then, right? If you're not gonna use it correctly. It's not gonna do anything. It's totally superficial, right? So, so with that, you know, you have basic construction of a harness, but we do try to work with a user, look at things that are gonna make it so that it's comfortable for you to wear and that it's easy to use. And then that way you're gonna be more inclined to use it correctly, right? I mean, because if we hadn't evolved from the photo that I showed you with my mom and my dad and their harness, I mean, think about the change that you've got, right? From that to a pretty slick looking, you know, sweet design, right? Slim down, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, evolution over time, right? And things coming and doing what the user's looking for. And so anyway, so that's kind of a little bit of a history of us, but we do have as I mentioned earlier, we're in about 13 different verticals. We have a complete product line that'll get you probably almost everything that you need, right, to do your job. We also have that ability to be able, because of being in multiple channels, have that ability to take from something that maybe would be from the industrial market and tweak it so that it's arc flash compliant, as there's a move across the country to have everything on property be arc flash compliant. So you may have generation people that are like, oh, I never touch anything hot, I work on flumes, you know, I really don't need it. But from the safety side, wanting to be able to have everything arc flash compliant, and that way somebody's not going to the warehouse and grabbing the wrong thing. Super easy for us to do to make that right. But we are a family business. It's fun working with your brother and your husband all day, every day. No, it's good. We enjoy it, and I think the part that can be challenging, but the more rewarding part is that for me, I love to be in the field. Pre-COVID, I traveled about 220 days a year. I don't like to sit behind a desk. I don't like to do reports. I don't like to do any of the inside stuff. I try to leave all the inside stuff to my brother. He's retired Army Colonel, 30-something years, fantastic from an operations standpoint. And so that's kind of the way that we split it. I tell everybody he does everything on the inside and I do everything on the outside. But for us, family business, keeping us connected with the industry, I want to be in the field. I want to hear what people are saying. I want to see what people are using. And that way it keeps us connected to see what's needed and kind of what's going to be the evolution of products and what's going to be, you know, coming down the pipe, right? And that type of thing. So when you call us, we're a big family. I mean, we've got people that have been with us for 40 years that are working for us, and they're the ones that know all of our secrets and can tell you good stories about me from when I was in high school, probably. So anyway, no, it's fun. Our family is proud to be in the industry and to be a partner, and that's really and truly how we view ourselves in the industry. Is we want to be a partner with you. Any questions that you have, please don't ever hesitate to reach out with anything, and we want to help you. We may not have what you need, but we want to be able to get you what you need, right? And there's a lot of fantastic products on the market, but we want to make sure that what you've got is the best fit for you to do your job. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to go home safely, right? And out of all the, spending a lot of time in the field, I've met a lot of people. One of the things that really hit home is 5 years ago, this past January, we lost a very, very good friend of mine by the name of Justin Kropp. I knew Kropp from when he started his apprenticeship in Phoenix, and knew when he topped out. He did some stuff for us. Fantastic person, and you never know. First of all, you're never planning to get a phone call, right? And I know too, from not only from the industry, but my personal experience, getting the phone call that my parents died in a plane crash. You are not guaranteed tomorrow, okay? You don't know what's gonna happen. But when we got that phone call about Kropp, the day didn't start, the day started as a normal day, and Kropp was going to be going home to his beautiful wife, Rachel, and his 2 boys. He had 2 boys under 2. And things happened, and there was an incident, and he wasn't able to go home to his family. And that's hard. And it happens way too frequently in the industry. It seems like this year, there has been a lot of accidents, and it makes me sick to my stomach to think that things could have been prevented, right? and did somebody make a choice? And so when you're out there working, you have to know what are you working for, right? What's your why? And I know that there's some guys that will write the name, you know, of their loved ones in their hard hat, write it on a piece of paper, put a picture in their hard hat, right? There's that reminder of why you need to work safe every day. It's not only for you and your family, but it's for the guys and the ladies on your crew, because you're their brother's keeper and you need to do things right so that everybody can go home at the end of the day. You know, going back 20 years ago, yeah, there was a time in the industry where people were running and gunning and you were trying to see how many poles you could set today, and it was like super fast paced. That's changed. You know, paid by the hour and taking those extra precautions and those extra steps for safety is not going to add on that much time, and that's going to allow you to go home at the end of the day and everybody on your crew to go home. And you have a responsibility to speak up. If you think something's not being done right, speak up and say something. The days of being afraid, if you speak up, that you're going to end up without a job and, oh, am I going to get kicked out of the industry? That's over. There is such a shortage of workers right now. If you spoke up, if for some reason you got let go because you spoke up, which is unacceptable anyway, you would be able to get a job the next day. Like, there should never be a concern about speaking up for safety and then losing your job and not being able to continue working, right? So you're going to be able to get a job. It's so important to speak up if you think that something's not being done right. It is your life depending on it, and line work is so dangerous that it's not worth the risk at all to take any shortcuts. Kind of time back into the theme with family, yours, mine, and ours. You know, my family is making stuff to keep you safe for your family, right? And then together in the industry, it's our family together, because the utility industry is an absolutely fantastic industry, and I can't think of a better industry to be a part of. But it is truly a brotherhood and a tight family, and to see how so many people can be impacted with the loss of a life, I don't think you see that in very many other industries at all. So, you know, be safe. Brent is doing so much with bringing so many people together to provide training for y'all and give you resources and things to think about. That if ECOS can help even just one person make a decision to do something safer, better, or change an old habit, then the goal has been achieved, really. And it's really, how do you make it safer? Because everybody wants you to be able to go home at the end of the day. And that's what's important. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak, and I encourage each of y'all to watch Brent's videos that he puts up and be your brother's keeper.